So you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about the word array and what is an array in Java. Arrays are a very, 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 very important data structure in Java. We use array to store multiple values of the same data type under a singular variable name. So an array is a data structure that allows you to store multiple values of the same data type under a single variable name. Arrays are very useful for storing and manipulating collections of data. So arrays allows us to start viewing data as a collection. And anything in which you can group, you can manipulate. It is easier for you to manipulate a group of like things than for you to manipulate anything else. So arrays allows us to group things together. What does this mean? In here, I'm going to open an Excel file, and I'm going to use the Excel file to help me demonstrate what I mean. When we started a course, when we want to create a variable, we would say, for example, number, and then we'll put in, let's say, 5. So this is the same as me, right? It's the same as me writing number is equal to 5. Now, me writing number is equal to 5 is me telling the computer to create a space for me, and inside that space, it should put in what? 5. Now, in arrays, when I tell the computer that it should create for me an array, it does the same thing, whereby it creates a space for me and gives that space a particular name, so let's say number. At this time, in the same space number, so if you are visualizing it, this thing here looks like this one. So it is the same thing. It will create different square boxes in that same space so that I can store different values in them as I want. So here I can install, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in here, since all of them are stored in the same location, it means that whenever I call on number, I am bringing all the things which are here. They are all 1. Because they are all 1, I can specify, for example, number, square bracket, 0, number, square bracket, 1, number, square bracket, 2, number, square bracket, 3. And what does number square bracket 0 mean? It means that when you go in number, look for the first thing in which you see in number. And the first thing you see in number is 1. That means what is kept in number at the first point is going to be what? 1. What is kept in the second point is going to be 3. What is kept in the third point, let me make this one 6. Third point is going to be 6. And what is left in the fourth point is going to be 4. Now, why am I saying first, second, third, fourth, but here has 0, 1, 2, 3? We start our counting from 0. That means this one is 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I was to ask you, how many spaces has the array number? The array number has 4 spaces. Count them. 0, 1, 2, 3. What is the length of this array? So if I ask you to tell me the length of an array, the length of the array is the number of cells that the array has. In this case, the array has how many cells? 4 cells. If I ask you, what is the last cell of this array? The last cell of this array is the length of the array minus 1. And the length of the array minus 1 will give us what? 3. And is that correct? We have 0, 1, 2, 3. That means 3 is the last cell of our array. Any questions? Any questions? Are you? Arrays are stored from the same type of data. That means that if it is an int, everything in there has to be an int. If it is a double, everything in there has to be a double. If it is a float, everything that is stored in there has to be a float. With that in mind, it is time for me to ask questions. Since you people have no questions, it means it's my time to talk now. It's like marriage. Forever hold your silence. You see. So over here, I have even as my array. And here I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Wonderful. Mr. George, what is the length of my array? Even. The length of my array is what?
Are you saying Johnson?
George. George Kujo.
Yes, sir.
What is the length of my array?
Sir, please, it's 4.
How did you get your 4?
No, sir, it's 5, sir. Two, 4. So it looks like there's one box empty there.
So what is the length?
So it's 6.
Okay. Mr. Addison, what
Yes,
is
sir.
in even cell 2?
Six.
Cell 2. Count how you got your 6 for me.
You said what is it? Even cell 2.
Cell 2.
Oh, sorry, 4. It's 4.
4. How did you get your 4?
you come from 0. So 0, 1, 2.
Okay. We are making progress. What is the last cell? Mr. Benjamin.
5.
Oh, the last cell is what?
As in the value on the last cell or the index of the last cell?
The value of the last cell.
Oh, okay. 10.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Joseph, what is the value of even cell 6? Mr. Joseph there.
Yes, sir.
What is the value of even cell 6?
So there's no cell 6, if I'm right. There's
So
no
if
cell
you
6.
so if it was a computer, you say what? Undefined. So again, in an exam, I put in that and I'll put the undefined. The answer is what? Undefined. So we have a rudimentary understanding of arrays. We have how they work. They are there to store a group of information. It could be 1 to infinity, it doesn't really matter. But we need to know what is stored in what cell. The cells, they start their counting from index number 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last cell is always the length of the array minus what? 1. The length of this array is what? 6. Minus 1 will give me what? 5. So you can see that the last cell will always be held in what? 5. How will I declare an array? So if I want to tell the computer that, hey, I want to create an array, I want to have an array, how will I create the array? By typing data type, square brackets, array name. So for example, int square bracket number, string square bracket names, double square bracket salary. This is me telling the computer that I want to create an array. Any problems of this? Now, it is not alone for me to tell the computer that I want to create an array. I also have to tell the computer how many cells I want in the array. So this announces to the computer, oh, I want to create an array. But as to how many cells it should do, how many places it should hold for people, it doesn't know. So for me to declare and initialize, I must provide the information of how many cells it should have. And that information is provided by me bringing the equal to sign, the new keyword, the data type of the cells I want to put in into square brackets the size of the array. In other words, here, if I want to create 10 cells, I'll tell the computer to create a new int into square brackets what? 10. If I wanted to create 14 names, I'll tell the computer new string into square brackets what? 14. If I want to tell the computer here new double into square brackets, let's see, 6.
Emma, open that.
So, question time again. Question time, blazing time. Question time, blazing time. Geoffrey, if I'm creating an array for this, what I've highlighted, what is my last cell going to be? Geoffrey.
Yes, sir.
What is my last cell going to be?
The last cell is going to be 9, sir.
Very good. On this one, it's also going to be 13. Remember, it is the size minus what? 1. It is the size minus what? 1. Now, there are times whereby you do not want to state the size of the array, but rather you would want to enter the values that would be in the array directly. To do that, you must, for example, state or declare to the computer that you want to create an array. This one, it doesn't go away. And then you will use the curly brackets to state the things you want to be in the array. For example, I want my array to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and what? 5. Using the comma to separate them. Over here, for the names, I will do string names. And then in here, I will do my curly brackets, and with a double quote because it's a string, I will type in the names. So if I don't want to declare them, but I want to initialize them by entering the values themselves, then I would use what? This method here. If I want to access it, because I don't know what the person would enter, but I know you enter 14 things, so I want to store all of them as 1, then I can use this method here. Any questions? Wonderful.
I have a question, please.
Of course.
Yeah. So what happens if, 1, you don't know the length, and 2, you don't know the number of characters? For example, maybe the list is going to keep growing or something. How do we handle something like that? Maybe it's a list of ints, but I don't know the specific number of ints that will be coming in. And you also don't know the specific items that will be coming in. How is it handled?
That is a very big problem. Because with loose languages like JavaScript and co, you can specify the array and choose not to specify the length. You can just top up. But with Java, you can't do that. You would have to specify the size of an array. One second. You would have to specify the size of an array. In that, you can either specify the array as an array list and use it from that point onwards. But in that case, you are using a dynamic array. So it is not technically not an array. Or you will specify a huge size. For example, over here, I would say 1,000. Right? And then I know that I would enter values till I get to what? 1,000 and to stop. So in that case, I've made room for the user on how much values you enter. Or I can tell the user that how many entries will you make? It's an easy enough request. The user will tell me, oh, I will make 50 entries. Then I will take these 50 entries, that is going to be my size, and come and put it over here, as that is going to be my entries. So it means you have to be clever with Java as to how you specify the size of an array. But technically, if you want to use the array like you do with JavaScript, then you have to do this, which is a more dynamic what? Array. But we haven't got into this one yet. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
With that in mind, let's take a question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the string, I see a capital letters, the double and the int, they are in small letters. Can you explain why?
That's how they are rated. The string is not the string variable is actually an object. That's why it starts with a capital letter. But the int and the double, they are inbuilt data types, so they are written in small letters.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we are going to write a program that will store the results of 10 students and calculate their grade. So write a program that collect the class score and exam score of 10 students and calculate their grade. Now, I saw on someone's post that this is the grading system of schools in Japan. I don't know if it is true, but whatever it is, to me, it looked quite malicious. So let's use this one. Whereby for you to get A, oh, is it this one? Oh, it's not this one. There's another one there. That one, A is 100 to 99. 100 to 98. Now, how can you get A plus? How? Who has written exam and gotten 90 between 100 and 99 and 98 before? Anyway, we are going to use this grading system. It is a bit too long. So what I'm going to do is that any student who gets below 59 has gotten a what? F. So now we know that if you get below this grade, you have a what? F. Now, for this, we are supposed to use an array to solve. Very important. Let's ask some questions. How do I calculate the grade? How do I calculate the grade? John. John, are you there?
Yes, sir.
How do I calculate the grade?
By adding oil,
By what?
adding the grades.
Adding the
score, I mean, yeah.
So what score? I want to know specifics. Class score and the exam score.
Exam score.
This will give you the total score of the student, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if this is giving you the total score of the student, then based on their total score, if they fall within any of these ranges, then we can tell them their grade and the interpretation of the grade. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
So we have this frame of mind there. Now let's write our application. Again, I would go into my IntelliJ. For this application, I'm going to be a bit professional with it, okay? So I want to start a new project. And I'm going to call this project Grading System. I'm going to click on Create. Over here, I have my editor for me to work. Nice. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function that will handle the grading system. So I'm going to have to make it static since it is in the main method. It's going to be public. It's going to have a string as a data type. And it is going to be called getGrade. And then I need my parameters. And I have this. Of course, because it's a string, I must return a particular word, string. What again? Oh, sorry. So this one should be inside my main class, since it's a method. Good. Now in here, I'm going to insert a double, just to be sure. So the double is going to be the score. Very good. Now in here, I'm going to say if the person's score, just to save me some time, I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to bring this over here. Good. So if the person's score is greater than or equal to 80, then the person has a grade or the system should return to itself the grade of what? A. If the person if the person has a grade of 75 and above, then the person has a B plus. Else, if the person has a grade that is 70 and above, then he has a B. So the system should return a B. Let me save myself some typing time. Say else if the person has a B minus, if he has, oh, this place is supposed to be 65. And then this place is supposed to be what? 60. Other than that, the person has a grade of F according to our chart. So if I call upon get grade and I dump a score here, this will calculate the grade for me. Also, I want to do another function, and that function is going to have the same things which are here, but this is going to be get interpretation. And in here, I'm going to put in the interpretation. And here I need to get myself a string called grade value. We add the word value so that it doesn't conflict. And in here, I'm going to have a switch statement. So switch grade value. And in here, I will have my cases over here. So the case that the grade value is an A, then I should return onto myself that I am what? Outstanding. And then I should what? Break. Sorry, this is a string, so it means it has to be double quotes. Good. So I'll have some few other cases. So I'll just paste them. And the cases I will have is if it is B plus or B, or B minus, or of course F. And here I would say default. Default. It should return incorrect value entered. And then when it is done doing that, it should what? Break. Wonderful. Why do I have an error here? Delete unreadable statements. Okay. Since I'm returning, there is no need for the word break. That's fine. So now I have the interpretation being gotten from here, the grading being gotten from here. Now I can come in here. I'll start by creating the object of the scanner class. So scanner is equal to new scanner system dot what in. I've created the object of the scanner class. In here, I'll create double class score, comma, exam score, comma, total score. Strength grade, comma, in let me call this interpretation. Let me call it interpretation. What a big deal. Good. So I'm here now. Okay. So system, I'm here now. That's fine. So system dot out dot print, right? Enter class score of student. System dot out dot print, enter exam score of student. Now in here, of course, I need to go and collect the class score. So it is class score is equal to con dot next double. And here it would be exam score is equal to con dot next double. The problem with this is that this information here would be gathered for a single individual. But we need to gather for 10 different people, and we need to store them in an array. That means that here, if I try and implement this like this, it will not help me because everything I'm doing here is for one person and one person only. Means here, I would have to do them for an array. An array has to change. How did we say we declare an array? How do I declare an array? I'll give the data type, square brackets, and then the name of it. Data type, square brackets, and the name of it. The moment I bring the square brackets here, you can see that a line comes here because the computer knows that this is not a singular variable anymore. It's an array, so I have to treat it differently. Now, for each of them, I must specify the length. So over here, I'm going to say new double that. New double that. New double that. Now, I must put in here something important, the size. And the size is going to be what? 10 here, 10 here, and the totals are also going to be what? 10 different totals. Now, let's come here. The only way I can access an array is by me using a loop. That is why last week we learned the loop. So for me to do something over and over and over again, I need a loop. So I need a loop to put in things in the same position over and over and over again. So since I already know the total size of my loop, I would use a for loop and tell it that it should start from 0 and end before it gets to what? 10. And it should increase in ones. So I'll use the n++. In here, I would still give this message here to tell the person to put in the class score of a particular student. Very important. So here, so that you know which student you are entering, I would bring my close bracket here, my plus here, and another close bracket here, so that in here, I can put in the value that I want over here. And what am I going to put in over there? I'm going to put in a counter, say count is equal to 1. And here I'm going to say count over here. Now I've asked, that means I must receive. So here I'm receiving with this again, but this time I'm telling the computer that it should receive in n. Note, n at the beginning will be 0. And if I increase it by 1 each time, I'll have index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, index 6, index 7, so on and so forth. I will do the same thing to this side, whereby here, I'll change here to go and reference a particular index. And then in here, I will tell it to what? Count a particular index number. So student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, student 5, so on and so forth. Once I have my class score and my exam score, I can now add them together. So total, sorry, this T, let me do it small. It's not F, is a function. So total score of the index is equal to the class score of the same index plus the exam score of that same what? Index. And when I'm done, I'll tell the computer that the count I'm using, it should add 1 to it. So that here to know that it's going to the second person, the third person, and so on and so forth. Now, I must display this. I must display it. So in here, I'll still need the for loop. But I will not need all of this. And I will definitely not need that. And here, I'll tell you that student count, where I have to reset count again over here, because at this point, count will be 10. So if I don't send it back to 1, I can't use it anymore. And tell the computer that, okay, for student count, he has a total score of that. And I'm done. Of course, this one has to go away. Here, this has to go away, and this has to go away. And then I'm fine. This we don't need anymore. And I have this. Now, it's not only enough for me to tell the computer what the total score of the student is. I need to tell you what grade in which that student got. So again, I'll add my plus here. I'll add this to give me a space and tell you that the student had a grade of, and how do I know the grade of the student? By going to reference get grade. And we said that with get grade, it is a function, and that function requires the total score. So since I already have the total score over here, I'll go and reference the total score. Plus, I'll bring this again, and then I will bring in a comma here and that. Sorry. Yes. Good. I'll bring my plus, I'll bring this in, I'll bring a comma, a bracket here for this. And then I'll bring a plus here, I'll bring a double quote here again, and then I'll bring a close bracket here. And then in between this, I'll bring my get interpretation. And what am I getting the interpretation of? I'm getting the interpretation of the user going to get me the grade. So I'll put this in here. Now I'm done. Let's see if it does what I have said it to do. I'll run it. I have no error. It tells me enter the grade of student 1. Student 1 had 23, and then the exam score he had 34. Student 2, he had this and then that. Student 3 had that. 4 had that. 5 had this. 6 had that. 7 has this. 8 has this. 9 has this. And then 10 has what? That. Now, it is giving me everything, but in one long line. And this doesn't help. So I need to go back and tell the computer that over here, it should add what? ln to it. Then I'll go back and refresh my page. Student 1, he had this. 2 had that. 3 had this. 4 had that. 5 had this. Oh, I've done a mistake here. 6 had that. 7 had that. And 8 had that. So here, student, 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 student. Great. But it is telling me student 1, student 1, student, student 1, student 1. And that is what I was talking about over here. Over here, I added a plus here. But here, since I didn't, it will not know that it should move to the next student when it is displaying. So here, I have to add count plus so that now it will know that it has to move to the next student. This, ladies and gentlemen, is coding. This is how we are supposed to code. Look at how everything is broken down into its separate entities. Look at how when I need to get a grade, I just call on get a grade. When I need to get interpretation, I call get interpretation and go and get me the grade. So it will get me the grade, put the grade in here, and then it will move directly into the interpretation. Look at how everything is lined up. I just get the students, I calculate them, I take their calculations, I use them to the display. Everything is stored, kept, and reused. Any questions?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
The interpretation, all of them are showing outstanding.
Really? Let's see. Oh yes, all of them are showing outstanding because your teacher has done an error there, whereby instead of me saying this one should be what? Excellent, and then this one should be very good. I didn't do that. So let me correct it right now. Thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Oh, very good. And then good. And then, oh, I think I've missed something else, haven't I? Ah, yes, I didn't do it. Good. I think there is also excellent. Oh, okay. So excellent is supposed to be A minus. Did I do A minus? I didn't do A minus, so you just leave it like that. That's fine. Good. That means 80, 85, 5. Okay, so here let me do it 70 and above so that everybody will be covered. Okay, so that's fine. Let me run it again. And then before I run it, let me do this. I don't like how this does it. So here I'll just say system.out.print ln here. And then I'll just print out this line here like this. Good. So that's stop and rerun. So that whenever I enter a mark for a particular student, there will be a small line there to show the difference. This is a bit more aesthetically pleasing than the other one. Oh. So you can see now that student 1 has this grade, B has this grade, that grade, failed, passed, so on and so forth, whatever you got it's there. Is that okay? Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
The next time we meet, we are going to do sorting algorithms with arrays. I'm going to give you guys some questions to go and solve. You are to solve all of those questions and submit it to me by next week, Friday, midnight. So you will have from Sunday to next week, Friday, midnight, to do all the questions and submit it to me on WhatsApp. You would copy your code and put it in Notepad and send me the answer. I would watch it there and I would be giving updates as to the marks in the class group per what you have done with your code.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
it is very important for me that you practice. I understand that workload is the workload is too much, especially if you're a worker and you have to be doing this in addition and everything. But if you don't practice, you will not be good at coding. As much as people think coding is difficult, it really isn't. It really just boils down to practice. When you practice, you see errors. When you see errors, you try and correct. When you correct them and they are correct, then you can move on from there. It's very important that you practice. I'm not saying be practice 24 hours, 1 hour. A day, you can get 1 hour for yourself. A day, you get 1 hour for yourself. If it is 6 in the morning to 7, then you go to work or whatever, get an hour for yourself and practice. Don't wait for exam. If you wait for exam, with these codes, the things you do, it will hover you.
Yes.
Practice now. See the errors now. See the ways things to come together now, and you'll be fine. You will be fine. If you don't practice, you will not be fine. The classes are all recorded. Rewatch the videos. The codes that are there, repeat them till you don't have to think of it anymore. And ask questions as to why this is doing this and it's not doing that. Change something. If it doesn't work, then you know, next time I don't do this. There is a quote. I don't know if it is true or not, but the guy who did the light bulb said he did the light bulb 100 different ways. And they asked him, why did you do it 100 different ways? And said, yes, so that he can learn 100 different ways not to do a light bulb. So with programming, there is something to be learned from failure. As you can see, when I'm writing code and I click on run, I don't get a lot of errors. It's not because I'm a marvelous coder. It's because I have repeated to the point that if I am doing something wrong, I know what I'm doing wrong and how I can fix it. Repetition is key. Repetition is key. And if you don't have time to repeat because of work, and family, job, and this and that, and we all have. But let's also remember this truth that as a Ghanaian, your life expectancy is 55. So as a Ghanaian, you are expected to live till you are 55. Most of us in this page will be above 30. That means if we are going by scientific logic, we technically have 25 years more to live on this earth. Stop living your life for everybody apart from you. Every day I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. But you realize whenever you say I'm busy, you never say I'm busy for myself. It's always for somebody, my mother, my sister, my wife, my child, my this. It is never about you. And the day it will become about you, you'll be 55. And if you are not gymming, jogging, eating healthy, doing the correct stuff you're supposed to do, then 55 is actually a correct number. So let's do things for ourselves. Let's improve ourselves. Ourselves is also important. We are important. We. The people looking for the money, we are important too. One day, go and sit somewhere and take a beer or a Coke or ice water, if that is what you, and then enjoy your life too. Don't live and never eat your money. Say, media restaurant, there is no sense of wisdom in that state. You to enjoy, because it is you. The same way you to learn, improve yourself, make sure you are an asset, and grow yourself. Because if they are busy becomes too much, at what point do you stop becoming busy even for yourself? I hope what I just said makes some form of sense to us.
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, any other question before we go? I will send you the video. And as I said, I will send you some questions. The questions are there to help you to start coding in this way. Because from now going onwards, we will be doing questions that have everything in it, so that we will be practicing everything in it. And to be honest, from next week when we come, we will be doing like 2 or 3 different questions every time we come, for us to have a stronger grasp on A, understanding problems and how to break problems down, and B, writing code for those problems. Okay? We'll be looking at how we can do if and for and this and join them together to solve the problems in which we have. So if there are no other questions, then I'll bid you farewell.
Sir,
Yeah.
so I was looking through the code, but then you see the interpretation of the scores. Which line puts it in the brackets that you have them in?
Okay. So you can see that over here, I did the quotes over here, right? Do you see this?
Yes,
What
sir.
I've highlighted, that is the open bracket. So you can see that I said there should be space and open bracket. Then you put the interpretation there. Then there should be a closed bracket under it. I didn't give a space here. So you realize that when we come to the run, we see that there is a space here, open bracket, the interpretation comes, there's no space, and then the closed bracket comes. So this piece of code here does that section for us.
Okay. Okay, sir. All right, thank you.
So over there too, you see that I'll go and take the grade from here. And because this one is returning the grade value, I can leave it here and it makes perfect sense, because over here it is just taking the value. So when it takes the value, then it will use that to also go and give me the interpretation. Okay, so for the first weekend, in a very long weekend, I don't have any second class or third class. So I'm going to look for some nice watching to eat, and then some nice movie to watch, so that I'll enjoy my life. So enjoy your day. Bye bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your day, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.